Well, good day, gentlemen, ladies, whoever might be watching. I know there's a few of you, and I just want to take this time to thank you. I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me. I know I haven't really shared a whole lot of details about myself because I like my privacy, but I've been buying, selling, trading, collecting knives since I was very, very young. Pretty passionate about it, and I hope that conveys into this channel. Pretty knowledgeable, not as much as some, but more so than others. And like I said, I appreciate the guys who have shared and commented and interacted here. It means a lot to be able to share something you're passionate about on this platform, this knife community that we have here on YouTube. It's a beautiful thing, and I hope to share any knowledge that I gain with y'all, and I hope to learn more knowledge. I hope to further my knowledge about the world of knife collecting, because these simple tools stem from basic human needs millions and millions of years ago. And it's just interesting. I love the history. I love learning. Try to learn something every day. It's a very rewarding hobby sometimes. But on that note, I just want to say that in this hobby, there are a lot of shady people who are more concerned with profit over real values, real facts, and real history. And I will do my best when I talk about a knife to give accurate facts. Sometimes I just talk off of memory, and if I am second guessing myself, I usually put text into the video to correct myself, because I don't want to mislead anybody. And I'm sorry for this little rambling intro here, but guys, today is Saturday, and Saturdays are for the bone boys. So let's get into it. And if y'all thought I was rambling now, this topic here is one that can go on for a while. But today we're talking about Battle Axe brand. And as noted before, if you've been following along, I am a self-proclaimed olbertz fanboy, Friedrich Olbertz, from Solingen, Germany, which they are producing very minimal stuff nowadays, if any. This right here is one of the more common production runs under the Battle Axe brand. The original Battle Axe cutlery was back in the 20s and 30s. I'll pull out the books and we'll go through it a little more accurately than me just rambling off the top of my head. But that is not the company I'm talking about. I'm talking about more current produced Battle Axe brands. this is the second example of this knife I've had. One of my buddies has the other one. I'm still trying to talk him into selling it back to me. That way I'd have two. It's kind of a bear head pattern. Sheep's foot. Barlow. Pinch bolsters. Now, the reason I am an olbertz fan is because I feel they produce some of the best mass-produced factory knives out of Germany in the last 30, 40 years. And I own a handful of pre-75 hen and roosters from the original C. Bertram factory before A.G. Russell owned them from 75 to 80, and before Frost wound up with the brand. Not saying that the newer German produced ones aren't good, because they're made by Kissing Crane. Anyway, I'm getting off on tangents, but that's the main problem I have with discussing knives, is getting off on tangents, because all of these knife producers, all of these knife companies are tied together somehow. And it's hard not to veer off at the forks and talk about it, especially when you've read about it so much and researched it so much, and when you're trying to explain it to somebody else. Alright, so let me put this down and quit rambling and get the book out. Books. Levine's Guide. Lists. Battle Axe Cutlery Co. was for A.R. Justice, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Hardware wholesale brand, 1877 to 1937. It's not the ones we're talking about. We're talking about the current produced battle axe knives by J.W. Hickey and Tommy Schaus, Winston-Salem, North Carolina. They were produced in Germany, and they were retail limited editions in the 80s. This example is a Hickey and Schaus. Now there are Schaus and Harden battle axe knives as well, and G.O. Smith, aka Harden Hardware or Wholesale, wound up becoming one of the sole owners or partners of Bluegrass Cutlery. Okay. That produced many of the Winchester knives and others. So I'm getting back to my original point, being an olbertz fanboy here and talking about olbertz, focusing on olbertz and why I like them so much. Like I said, I believe they make some of the highest, or made some of the highest quality German knives from the 70s through the 90s and early 2000s, until they kind of ramped down production and really just started being making knives with their home-based master cutlers. And I think they are on par with, as far as mass-produced knives, with some of the older hen and roosters, because I've had examples of older hen and roosters from the original C. Bertram factories that had issues. So don't get hung up on somebody saying, oh, you know, pre A.G. Russell or A.G. Russell and before Hen and Rooster knives are the best knives that ever come out of Germany. Because handmade knives or hand assembled knives are going to have issues. People are human and people make mistakes. You might get a Monday knife or a Friday knife. I mean, quality varies even within brands that are world renowned for their quality. And overall, my two favorites are Queen and Olbertz. And there is always going to be examples that have issues, like blade rubbing, blades not being centered, uneven grinds. So my advice to y'all is, you can like a brand, you can love case knives because they sell well and their collector values are high, or you can like Charade, Camillus, Antiques, whatever, whatever turns your on, floats your boat. But just know that brand loyalty is kind of ignorant to me, because there is always quality control issues. It's how the company fixes it and addresses it, because one bad knife doesn't mean the whole company's bad. Most of the Hen and Roosters I own are, the Bertram knives I own are awesome knives. Most of the Olbertz knives I own are awesome knives. So we're going down that Olbertz rabbit hole today with showcasing this battle axe knife by Hickey and Schaus. In the same breath, I have 3 of these Whittler patterns. I don't know if you'd call this an elephant toe Whittler or what, but JW Hickey and Sons is the same Hickey from the Battle Axe brand. This is the President Mother of Pearl. Here is the Ambassador in French ivory. Here's the Senator in celluloid. Now, I try not to keep these German-made celluloid knives with any of my other knives, because look at that shield. The Fighting Roosters, the Bulldogs, and many of, even from Olbertz, the celluloid gases out on these knives really bad if you do not take care of them. If you just put them up and leave them sitting with your other knives and they start to gas out, the gas is left off of this celluloid is highly corrosive and can ruin the knife and all knives around it. So I keep that knife and this 2nd generation Bulldog with celluloid, also from the Olbertz factory. I keep these wrapped and separate from all my other knives. They are slowly gassing out. I have seen some of the Fighting Rooster knives that have gassed out super fast and ruined many people's knife collections. So, just so y'all know, keep an eye on your celluloid handled knives, especially German produced. A lot of the early American celluloid was good and solid. Gas out occurs a lot slower with those. Some of the German knives are pretty solid, but they vary by example. So keep your eyes on these. I try not to pick up many of the celluloid olbertz knives because of fear of ruining the collection or buying a knife that is going to self-destruct and turned into a rust bucket. Here is a second generation Fighting Rooster with stag handles from Frank Buster. I've done shown this one, a second generation Fighting Rooster, same knife with bone handles. Here's another bulldog from when James, or Jim, some people called him Jim, some people called him James Sr., I'm assuming. If I'm not mistaken, James Jr. is still around, still selling knives on eBay. He offers some great collector knife examples on his eBay shop. Silver Lady and some change, I can't remember off the top of my head. But all of these guys, J.W. Hickey, Tommy Schaus, Hardin, were all jobbers, all contractors. And Parker was a huge contractor as well with the olbertz factory. And if you go down all these rabbit holes with Battle Axe, J.W. Hickey, Fighting Rooster, Bulldog, and olbertz made knives for a lot of people, or a lot of contract knives for a lot of companies. Henkel's rumored some of Kissing Crane's knives. I haven't been able to confirm or deny the Kissing Crane part. There was also some Battle Axe brands with Hardin that was made with bluegrass cutlery with leftover parts from the olbertz factory. And then you get into bluegrass cutlery and some of them being made, or all of them being made by different companies, Utica, mainly Queen, Camillus. And man, it is just a never-ending rabbit hole with these collector knives. It's fascinating, but it's also exhausting. And like I said, my personal opinion, my personal experience, I'm just a big olbertz fan, and I try to go down these rabbit holes and figure out what knives are made by olbertz, and I try to pick them up when I can, because the quality to me is there. And I hope I'm not boring y'all to death or drawing this out too much, but I just thought sometime, I'm assuming Hardin from Bluegrass had some Battle Axe knives made by Queen, and some of the later Bulldog knives were also produced by Queen and GEC, because the same people that contracted these German made from olbertz also contracted Queen for bluegrass cutlery. So, going down that rabbit hole, this here is a Battle Axe from Winchester, Ohio, made by Cooper Cutlery, which they're relatively new. I think they sprung up in 2021. This is one of the early examples from Cooper Cutlery. They bought all of Queen's equipment after Queen went under, and they began producing knives on a small, much smaller scale in Winchester, Ohio, and they're one of the last few American-made slip joint manufacturers. It's cool. And this is definitely a Queen pattern. I have other examples that are nearly identical to this. But what was interesting to me was the backwards battle axe stamps. Now, this is a decent quality knife. The fit and finish is not on par with what Queen was, and I think Cooper realized that, and they stepped up their game. And some of their newer produced knives, everyone said that Cooper has come a long way from when they first started. I would be really happy to get a newer example and compare them. Some people are saying the newer Cooper cutlery knives are on par or almost on par with GEC. So just another cool example of a battle axe, and neat to learn the history of the brand and how it started from the antique battle axe cutlery co. to the newer battle axe brand produced by Olbertz with Hickey, Schaus, and Hardin, and how all of these different brands are tied together through Queen and Olbertz. I think that's why I like them so much, is because there's so many different contract knives produced by Olbertz and Queen, and they were just such consistent quality for factory produced knives, and semi handmade, semi hand finished. But anyways, guys, I hope I didn't confuse you too bad, because this is just the tip of the iceberg. If y'all want to look into Olbertz knives, bluegrass cutlery, Queen cutlery, and all the contracts that have been done, you can't keep track of it. You can make mental notes, or you better have a thick notebook to start writing all this stuff down. It's very interesting, very confusing, very hard to keep track of, but like I said, I like the Olbertz. I like Queen. Those are my two favorites. I like them all. We all like them all, But that's what collecting is all about, is getting what interests you and what you like, and what makes you say, "That's what I'm talking about." Anyways, guys, Saturdays for the Bone Boys. I know it was long-winded. Thanks for sticking it out and bearing with me. This is Hillbilly Proud. Y'all have a good one.